Hello and welcome to the 86 Experience, your premier source for motoring news and entertainment. This podcast is hosted by myself, Nate, half past 8 on Twitch and YouTube. I'm joined by Brandon, also known as Swag Rabbit Gaming on Same. In today's episode, pictures emerge of Toyota's new WRC prototype, which might be a glimpse of the new Celica. Tesla bait and switches again, and Chinese automaker Burn Your Driveway seeks to bolster cratering domestic sales by selling to a sellout market. All this and more on this week's episode of The 86 Experience. Brought to you by nobody because we're just starting. So first up, we have some new shots of Toyota's WRC prototype, which kind of looks like their new Celica that they've been teasing / threatening, depending upon how this ends up. So it's, if I scroll here, they've got some pictures. This thing, which, as usual, has that like dazzle camouflage, and it looks interesting. The wing obviously is prototype as fuck. That's not going to be on the final version. A lot of the features of this aren't going to make it to prod, like that roof scoop. But if this general shape outline is what the Celica is going to look like, it's not going to look half bad. I like that front end specifically.
The wing very much reminds me of a Porsche, like the GTs.
Yeah, I can see that.
The way it's standing now when they're extended, and then the roof scoop. Actually, you might be wrong about the roof scoop being on the car. It might be an option like McLaren's have as an option now. Toyota might try something like that. It's possible. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. Other manufacturers are doing it, and smaller manufacturers like to try to copy high-end manufacturers.
I could see it either way.
I could also see it as a only top-end option for people that want to go racing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that could, I mean, maybe. I keep hoping, and especially with Toyota spinning off Gazoo Racing into its own thing, I hope they do kind of the same thing that Mazda does, where Mazda's just got this dedicated section that only sells parts to like people that are taking their Mazdas racing. And I really hope Toyota gets into that, because like the whole GR lineup is basically built for throwing out of the track. I mean, I don't know if you still can, but you at least used to be able to get a free HPDE with the purchase of an 8.6. So I hope they do that, and I hope they start selling like specific racing purpose parts directly to enthusiasts.
You know what's really funny?
Yeah.
About the Gazoo Racing thing?
Yep.
Is when they made the Yaris, everybody knows what the intention of that car was. It was a 300 horsepower all-wheel drive car.
Yeah.
I've personally seen them. I have a couple friends that have them.
Damn.
Those cars are fast as fuck. Yes. Here's the thing about them. If you turned off the safeties or went above a certain mile an hour, all of a sudden Toyota didn't want to value the warranty. They wanted to invalidate it.
They did the same thing with the 8.6. Which is kind of a shame.
Which is just, if they're gonna make a car for racing, why in the fuck?
I hope the GR being spun off is gonna ameliorate a lot of that, because yeah, it is kind of bullshit to make all these like GR cars and lean heavily into like, this is our specific racing spec things, moving away from TRD, which thank fucking god, nobody wants to drive a track car that says turd on the side, but they've kind of really got to lean into it, and they've got to be willing to say like, yeah, this is our racing spec stuff. It's there for racing, and we will warranty it for racing, instead of the shit where it's like, oh, you took your second gen 8.6 out on the track, and the engine blew up because the oil pressure got fucked on the right-handers, which is a problem. You have to run the second gens with an extra quart of oil, or they fucking starve. Well, we're not warrantying that because, oh, it's not designed for track use. Well, then what's the fucking point of the free HPD? The back end on this thing, going back to the Celica, back end on this is very classic Celica. I like the look of this. I was worried initially like how they were going to differentiate this from the 8.6. It's kind of a bigger, boxier one. Probably going to have either an inline 4 or a V6 in the final, maybe around between 2 and 3 liters in the actual production version. It looks like it's going to be a 2+2, but with an actual back row instead of a vestigial back row, like on the 8.6s. because this back definitely looks like there's enough space to get people in the rear there.
It
But
does.
I mean, it's gonna depend upon what engine they put in it. It's gonna depend a lot on what transmissions they offer in it. But I'm kind of hopeful with the fact that they're bringing the prototype up for WRC, the fact that they're spinning off GR into its own thing. It feels like they're taking this serious as an actual enthusiast car, and I really hope that when it comes out, it's going to be a banger, and it's going to utterly mog Honda. I hope this is Toyota bringing this shit out and telling Honda, like, this is how you fucking do it. This is how you bring back a classic enthusiast automobile.
I have 2 cars to my name. One is an FRS, and the other is a Prelude.
Yeah.
The new Prelude is the most disappointing shit I've ever seen in my life. So if this mogs on the Prelude, that is a good thing to me.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's someone at my work that drives the new Prelude, and I've just got to ask why.
You spent $60,000 on a 200 horsepower disappointment with no manual in it.
I love the comparisons to the 8.6 because it's 100% like that is the comparison. It's like you spent almost twice what you could for a car that has the exact same horsepower and is like twice the fun and has an actual transmission that doesn't try and tell you how to drive it.
So this, honestly, I think this could be I think it could be an enthusiast instinct cult classic. It needs to come out either all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, and it needs to be fun in the corners, and it needs to be manual. It needs to have a manual option.
Yes, I mean every GR needs a manual option. You can't have an enthusiast-oriented brand without a manual. Honestly, I kind of hope it comes out all-wheel drive because like all their GR shit is rear-wheel drive, and that's great. But like you need a little bit more variety in that lineup.
Are they still making the Yaris, or did they cut those after a couple years?
I
The Yaris is still all-wheel drive for the top end one. Yes.
Okay.
Because I've seen those things launch. They launch like crazy.
So they've got the Yaris then. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I still hope it's all-wheel drive, or at least has an all-wheel drive option. What they could do is they could bully Subaru into loaning them their all-wheel drive system, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's a pipe dream.
I think Toyota's already done it once, but they did it with the engine. I don't think they're going to get away with it with the all-wheel drive system.
Yeah. So I like this render. Actual production version, it's not going to have this hood. It's definitely not going to have that like gap, not scoop.
I think there's a very real possibility that if it looks anything like that, that will be most likely a limited production version with those accessories, but only for racing teams.
Front fenders are going to be a lot tighter. That rear wing is going to be completely different, and that roof scoop isn't going to be there on the production version. But I think most of this
roof scoop isn't connected to anything. I love the render of this because that roof scoop literally does nothing. There's no airflow to the engine is up front. So that airflow over the roof scoop, the reason McLarens have that is because the engine is in the back. You have an option for that because the engine is in the rear. You're cooling.
Yeah.
And it sounds really fucking cool on those.
The reason why you put a roof scoop on rally cars is for airflow. Sucks air because this thing normally just vents into the cabin, and then you've got like rear louvers or whatever to pull the air back out, and that's how you get airflow because you don't have AC, you don't have.
Well, actually, never mind. You actually brought up a good point. The roof scoop, if it's connected to the trunk, some rally cars have, or like some race cars have their cooling systems in the trunk. So like their radiator and stuff is in the trunk.
I mean, maybe, but I still think like a lot of the more rally-oriented trappings of this aren't going to be on it, and if it comes out with a rear wing, it's not going to be that thing. But I mean, if it looks half as good as this, it's going to be entirely worth buying. So I like the look of it, and I hope they don't fuck it up. I hope. Because it's as well, like I think that's going to be the first GR to come out after GR kind of semi splits off from Toyota. So it's really going to be a trendsetter for where GR is going to go moving forward. And I really hope they don't fuck it up. I hope it sets a trend of like, we have, nobody else is making proper enthusiast automobiles except maybe Subaru coming back with a WRX that looks fucking sexy. And I hope that this really is Toyota rolling up their sleeves and just going, all right, we'll do it ourselves, and just making banger after banger after banger. Because I mean, GR Yaris, is the GR the GR Corolla is different from the GR Yaris, if I remember correctly.
The GR Corolla is it?
Yeah.
No, okay. I haven't seen a Yaris. The Corolla, I think, is what I was talking about. That is all-wheel drive, but that thing is kind of a monster.
GR Corolla, GR Yaris, GR Supra, which I'm sad they don't make them anymore. GR86, and now the GR Celica, if it is.
Did they say they're not making the Supra anymore? Because somebody said something about the next Supras are going to come out with a V8.
The last that I heard about the Supra is that they wrapped them up last year.
Maybe for the current model because it was all BMW parts, but now that they have the ability to put V8s back in cars, there was serious talk about putting a V8 in the next Supra. So I'm kind of surprised if they just canceled them.
I mean, I hope so.
I hope
they're
I'm right and you're not.
I hope you're right, because I want a Supra. I just don't have like 30 grand minimum to buy one. That's what they're going for used. I looked it up the other day. Cheapest you can find in the whole country is 30 grand.
If I remember right, I was a big
GR
DB fan when that first came out, and I seriously feel like they spent 60 grand on theirs from the dealer.
Yeah, stock, like new 60 freaking grand. Like I'm talking like 30 grand is the cheapest you can get it if you buy a used one with like 60,000 miles on it. But I really want one of those. They're such sexy cars. Next up is this. I love this because Tesla, this company, I swear to God, is the king of the bait and switch. How many fucking times have they said one thing and delivered another? This is the latest in the long line of bait and switches. So one of the big criticisms of the Cyberstuck when it came out was that it was too expensive.
Oh, the Cyberstuck?
Well, yeah, because I keep seeing them in ditches.
Okay, that's fair. When didn't they? I feel like they launched it like 80K or something.
No, dude, the launch edition was like 100 grand for this. Okay, and I know this stainless steel piece of shit.
I had heard about dealer pricing at 120.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was like base was 100 to 120 when they first came out, and then it got down to 80, which is still way too much. And everyone's like, oh well, I say everyone, right? Car consumers don't know what they want. They keep saying shit and they don't mean it. And the shit that they're saying in this case is, oh well, I would buy a Cybertruck, but it's way too expensive. You don't want one. Let's be real here. And this isn't going to sell any. So Tesla's like, okay, well, we'll make a stripped down, bare bones, basic version of our Cybertruck. First of all, the fact they priced the bare bones, stripped down version at 60 grand is fucking hilarious. These things are never coming down to a reasonable price because 60 grand is still way too much for anything, but especially for this like piece of shit and what it's competing against. But it turns out
truck things at the level of half sizes.
Yeah, it turns out that 60 grand was their 10-day introductory price that they didn't tell anyone about until, after the 10-day introductory period was over, and now it's 70 grand. 70 grand for fucking standard suspension, whatever that means, fewer speakers, stock car sound systems suck nowadays anyways. No rear touchscreen. Who gives a shit? And it's not being delivered. They changed the delivery timeline, so for whatever reason they can't like take shit out of their car and sell it until next year. This from the man that knows more about manufacturing than anyone else on this planet, apparently. Hilarious. So yeah. Oh, and it's not even all-wheel drive. It's I think rear-wheel drive.
It's going to be even more useless than the original one was.
Yes. Standard, it has 18-inch wheels with all seasons, and they're the
not surprising
shitty Tesla all season. The funny thing about those tires is that in order to, this is a very funny story I heard a little bit ago. In order to meet the promised range, which they didn't anyways, but in order to bring more range out of it, they made special tires that are less grippy. So they have less rolling resistance, which is why you keep seeing these things ending up in ditches.
Well, that's not good.
And of course, full self-driving, quote unquote, is only a subscription now. You can't just buy it. which has made a lot of people very sad, and a lot of other more well-adjusted people laugh their asses off.
Okay, so do you know that where most of the original Cybertrucks ended up?
Do tell.
So most of the original Cybertrucks, and I found this out from a few different sources, those trucks are super popular in Dubai because they weren't sold there. So
Of
many of
course.
many of them were sold to dealers, and then people from Dubai would come over, buy them in large amounts. Like one guy that has a rental fleet up there in
Mhm.
Dubai just bought 5 of them
Yeah.
in a
Um,
bulk deal to have shipped up there.
I mean,
So
gold.
actually, the market now, 2026, they're going to start delivering units over there from factory.
Whereupon popularity will crater. Because I'm willing to bet the
Probably.
only reason they're popular over there is because you can't get them domestically. Once they offer them domestically, yeah, nobody's gonna want them anymore.
It's it's very possible. I think it's also possible that the rich people are going to make it some kind of status symbol, and
Well,
they
yeah,
might gain
because
kind of a cult popularity.
Gulf State rich people have no taste. Have you seen the Mansory Cybertruck? The words Mansory Cybertruck should inspire dread if you know what Mansory is. You know what Cybertruck is.
I know what Mansory is.
Have you seen the Mansory Cybertruck?
No. I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to, but you're about to show me, so this is going to get interesting. All right, let's see this abomination.
Look at this. Let me actually properly share my screen on Discord, not the... Let me change stream to my... There we go. So that's a better view of a thing you did not want a better view of.
That's terrible.
It's hard. Look at the fucking stubby little rear winglets. What the fuck is that doing?
That's just straight up hard to look at. I don't get any of that design philosophy.
It's got, they called it the elongation because
The elongation is actually a pretty
Reddit
funny name for
humor.
it.
It's got, that's, I don't think that's real like carbon fiber. I think that's just a wrap, which makes sense because these things are piss easy to wrap. That's the interior.
Well, the funny thing is, once you wrap them, you ruin the fucking finish.
Oh yeah. Black
When
and
you pull the
white
wrap off,
with accents of urine yellow. Yeah, I'm not sure who
So
outside
the
of
limited
Dubai wants
spec one
this.
with the blue interior. The blue interior is classic Mansory. It's up at the top.
Oh god.
First row, second
over?
one. No,
Nope, that's the yellow.
no, go left and down. One.
Oh yeah, that blue color.
That's classic Mansory interior.
You know, there's a shop in Cohoes, New York that calls, it's spelled differently, but I swear it's pronounced Mansory, and I had to drive past to go to work every day when I lived there, and I always wondered why they picked that name specifically, because it is one of the most cursed names in automotive. Also, they put fucking roof lights on it because this thing has to be made even more annoying to drive in front of.
Well, dude, here's the thing. The UAE is going to buy 5 of these
Yes.
to use as cop cars. So if it already has lights up there, they're doing their job for the police.
I mean, it's already in the UAE. Look at this.
But
Some people have more dollars than sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the cops are controlled by the royal family up there, I think. So
Yeah,
at least that's where they get all the supercars. So, you know, there's going to be 5 of these rolling around with full Mansory kits with lights all over them.
Of course. This is a very funny article. 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds. How long does it take to get 120? They always say 0 to 60. They never say 0 to 100 or 0 to 120.
Well, that's because 0 to 100 becomes abysmal. It takes like fucking 10 more seconds for it to get 0 to 100, probably.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you say maxed out 120?
No, I'm just wondering if 0 to 120, what is... They never post those times. They also never post times around the Nürburgring or really any other track. That's also, I wonder why. And of course, you know, bragging about Cyberbeast tri-motor setup, going 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds. That's if you can get tires that don't go all over the place. But yeah, it's another bait and switch on Tesla's part. Oh, it's going to be 60 grand. Haha, no. Okay, next up, Canada has decided that they want to give, I think it's like 50,000 permits to BYD to sell their shit in Canada. And you know BYD is doing this to try and backdoor this shit into the United States, which annoys the hell out of me.
Well, the problem, the reason why we're not allowing Chinese auto manufacturers into the country is because all of those Chinese auto manufacturers are under the control of the Chinese government. And the
Yeah.
Chinese government will just install spyware in every single thing that comes to America.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
So Canada's going to do this.
Yes.
And they're going to get called out for their bullshit. Probably in the next couple of months. And then they're going to backtrack to try to save their relation with Big Daddy America. And then they're just going to get more and more mad because we're actually calling them on their bullshit now.
Not to mention, they really don't meet American safety standards. I mean, people claim, ooh, crash safety. And I mean, how many fucking videos have we seen out of China of these things? I mean, there's a reason why you call it burn your driveway.
I watched a 2-hour clip with you and some of our friends.
At least Teslas, you have to crash into them for them to catch fire. These things will just light up on a whim, you know.
These do the exact same that Karmas do, or the Fiskars do.
Yeah.
Or did.
Did.
Fisker went out of business because they fucking, one of their dealerships flooded, and then the cars just caught fire and burned the whole dealership down. And that was basically the last straw for something that wasn't doing that well anyway.
Yeah. I love the first paragraph of this, which basically outlines that the entire EV industry is artificially propped up by the government, which is true. It's artificially propped up by the government. It's these cars are so good they have to pay you to buy them. And Upperly Regulatory Support that encourages EVs to challenge the endangerment fighting, grants the EPA authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah, so basically the EPA got their nuts smacked. They can't force cars to have all this bullshit, all this EGR crap that, you know, all this automatic stop-start shit that just kills engines faster and ends up being worse for the environment anyways. It's really fun. There's some, speaking of automatic stop-start, I know this fucking tangent podcast, if anything, but the thing about automatic stop-start is there's some cars that actually tell you, like, how much fuel, how many gallons, how much fuel that the automatic stop-start saves, and everyone that has it reports that's like, oh, I've had this for like 10 years and I've saved a gallon of gas, and I've gone through like 3 starters. How many gallons of gas were burned to manufacture those starters and transport them so that they could be replaced on your car?
Well, it's worse than that because they're not running on gas. They're running on diesel, and diesel's worse.
Oh, yeah. So, still a strong bull case for electric cars. In whose delusions? EVs don't have to have policy support to survive. This article literally goes on to talk about wrong. EV sales fucking cratering. Yeah. Chinese EVs are great and affordable cars. Yeah, people say the same shit about Korean cars, and they're about the same quality. Like, yeah, Hyundais and Kias are great and affordable cars. They're great shit boxes, but I mean, they're kind of crap.
Yeah, they're not the best. From the next section says from imports to domestic production, and it says exactly what the current policies are doing. Yeah. And that is incentive to move here and then punishment for not moving here, which is a good thing. That's how you're supposed to run a country when it comes to how companies are supposed to work. You're supposed to give them incentive to stay here and punishment for moving or not being here.
Well, I don't want the Chinese manufacturing their shitty EVs on our soil. Thank you very much.
I don't want anything owned by China on American soil.
I love the comparison the article makes to when we were kind of in a trade war with the Japanese, which is really funny because, dude, Japanese cars aren't crap. Japanese
cars aren't crap. Yeah.
Japanese cars aren't crap, A, and B, look how that turned out. It's really funny.
Whoever wrote this is being paid.
Well, yeah, no shit. The Chinese spend billions of dollars, paying for this shit overseas, and thankfully it's all coming to an end as their country collapses. But this actually reminds me, the boomers, of the many disservices they did, one of the big ones was treating Japan like a fucking adversary in the 80s, which was just fucking stupid. A, their economy was going to fall apart anyways. They were never going to be a threat to us. And B, they are more than like anybody else in the world culturally tied to us. They are never, ever going to be a threat to us in any meaningful fashion. And all trying to fuck with the Japanese auto industry did was, if anything, some credit, it made Japanese cars more appealing domestically because they were harder to get and kind of kicked off the JDM craze in the US. But come on, that was such a stupid policy. But this comparison's funny because it's like Japan wasn't acting against us geopolitically, and they were making decent cars and we were just worried they were like genuinely outcompeting our auto industry. The only segment of our auto industry that BYD is a threat to is Tesla, and frankly, Tesla doesn't need BYD to go under. Tesla's fucked anyways.
Tesla, I don't think Tesla cares about being a car manufacturer anymore. I think they're going to keep it going to see if they can get sales back, but Elon has already made it clear that he wants Tesla to become more about robo-taxis anyway.
Which is fucking stupid.
I agree it's fucking stupid, but I don't think Tesla cares about... I think that the downfall is not so much that Tesla is losing stock and losing buys, because like everything else, I think, from what I remember, everything else in their lineup besides the Cybertruck is selling pretty well.
Yeah, well...
So, I don't think there's a problem with the brand. I think there's a problem
selling
with...
pretty well... They were, and then the EV subsidies went away, and at this point, I mean, there's a couple things. Their sales are cratering, and their sales are cratering because A, the EV subsidies have gone away. People aren't being literally bribed to buy these fucking things, and B, at this point, everyone who wants a Tesla already owns one. Like who
that is
in
true,
general do you know
that's
like who in general do you know that's like, you know, I'm interested in a Tesla, I might go out and buy one. That person doesn't exist anymore. Everyone that wanted one has already bought one. Their only sales are replacements at this point. So they're kind of cratering because you've now separated the automotive owning public into two segments. The people that like delusionally love Tesla and dick ride Elon about it, and the people that are, I think, more sensible who just don't care for EVs and, you know, just actually care about having a decent experience in their car. And I think that's going to be true forever. Really, you're going to have the people that just want something from point A to point B, treat their cars like appliances, who live in cities, and they're going to buy EVs. And you're going to have the people that actually care about the experience, and they're almost never going to buy EVs. Maybe the closest they'll get is a performance hybrid. And so Tesla sales are fucked. And the problem for Tesla is that Tesla, like a lot of enterprises before them, have built their shareholder success and their whole identity, their whole brand, their whole company around just endless, infinite growth, and they've run out of runway.
Yeah, and I feel like it may not have lasted forever, but I really feel like that Tesla's market share would have held longer if it hadn't been for the government subsidies. Because every other auto manufacturer decided we're going to get into EVs too, and I really feel like that split even further. Because like the EV had enough following when it was just Tesla to be somewhat of a powerhouse, but now everybody has them, and now that everybody was like, well, we were getting paid to get these cars and now we're not, the allure is really gone. So like, not only are you losing all the people that are like, oh, we're not making EVs anymore, you're also they're like, we're kind of played out. It's too many.
Well, yeah, and on top of that, the promised sort of advances in battery technology never really materialized outside the lab, or didn't materialize fast enough. Manufacturers kind of started to realize the public demand wasn't all that great. The public started to realize the hype kind of wore off, the luster and the allure wore off. And I think honestly, because of what comes with EVs is not just the powertrain. Because of the way the powertrain is set up and the car is set up, it comes with necessarily comes with all this electronic crap that has to come on top of it. It's all electronic. It all has to be electronically controlled. It all has to be electronically integrated to a much greater degree than any, ICE vehicle. And as a result, consumers are getting fucking sick and tired of that. They're getting sick and tired of the iPad Dash. They're getting sick and tired of, I can't drive to work because my car needs a software update. They're getting sick and tired of dealing with all that electronic integrated crap. You can't separate that from EVs. And that's why Ford is going back to, making V8s. That's why automakers are moving back away from EVs again. And that's why, to go, kind of bring things back to this article, that's why this kind of desperate push, because BYD is trying to export overseas because their domestic sales are collapsing, because everyone in China that wanted one of these things or could afford one of these things already has one, and because their economy is collapsing and their consumer base simply doesn't have the money for these things anymore. They're trying to export overseas in order to bolster their sales and continue to spread this illusion that China is, 100 years ahead of the rest of the world, or whatever the fuck they're claiming this week. And it's not going to work because Maybe they can get some sales in Europe because Europeans are still enamored with it, and maybe they can get some sales in Canada because they've got a large Indian demographic. But in America, we've already moved past EVs. We're already done. We're already sick and tired of the, electronically integrated blob cars.
Well, it's also come to the point where we just don't trust. They don't meet safety standards for the USA. It's like it's already been proven in many, many ways. And two, we don't want Chinese made crap here. Like
Certainly
we're kind of done
anymore.
with it.
Yeah.
Certainly not anymore. I mean, it's gotten to the point where the Chinese made not only do we know that it's lower quality and that's why it's made in China, we also know that just in general, China is one big spy manufacturer at this point. Everything that they send here is just going to be used as a spy network until that fucking regime collapses.
Yeah, they actually address this in this article in a very hilarious fashion. They say security is a real barrier. Connected vehicles collect and transmit enormous amounts of data, raising real concerns about what happens when such data flows through Chinese-owned systems. But the solution is technology and regulation, not a permanent trade ban. Okay, I have some insight into this side of things. In a sense.
Do tell.
That's not how this shit works. We can't really prevent them from doing the spy shit because they're not going to follow our rules. They're not going to obey our rules anyways. Consumers are going to keep buying this crap because they're stupid, frankly. I'm just going to be honest. Like, people will buy
people aren't
this
security conscious.
I mean, they will buy this, ever-connected crap because it's a little bit more convenient for them, which isn't going to work because they're not going to follow our fucking rules. And unless, we are mandatory auditing that fucking software and we have people that actually give a shit auditing that software, it's not going to happen. These things are going to come off the assembly line and they're going to have all the crappy spyware. They're just going to hide it. And then 5-10 years down the line, there's going to be some big scandal about it. But by that point, they've already collected all the bullshit that they need from the vicinity of our military bases and the vicinity of our secure research facilities and so on and so forth. And I'd love to go into more detail about kind of the shit that I've observed on my end of it, but I can't, which is unfortunate.
That is the greatest hope of the Chinese dictatorship, by the way, is that these things will start being sold in the US and some asshole in the military will buy one and start driving it into bases.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they want to do this crap, is because that's the reason why they're trying to push Huawei phones everywhere. That's why they're trying to push these cars, is because I know from my end of things that someone is going to want to bring their shitty little burn your driveway car onto a military base. Some fucking 04 or 06 is going to want to bring it onto the military base because they bought it, and the reasonably paranoid intel guys are going to be like, you can't bring that on base. It's literally a Chinese intelligence gathering asset. And he's going to go, I don't give a shit about that. Let me drive it on. He's gonna bitch to the right people and he's gonna get it on base. And then congratulations, you have a fucking Chinese government intelligence gathering asset on our fucking bases that's mapping and scanning everything.
Even better than that, not only is it scanning everything, but the Chinese military could get desperate enough to where they just put out a software update one day that overloads the batteries and makes sure the damn thing explodes on a base.
Yeah, okay.
It could come to that point.
Our internal cameras in this car show that, this guy, he's in his uniform. We can see his little rank lapel. He's a colonel. Okay. Well, when hostilities over Taiwan kick off, we're just going to have his car. He gets in his car to go to work, and it's just going to lock all the doors and overheat the battery. And he burns this fucking colonel who's doing some really important shit at the Pentagon, burns to death in his BYD because he wasn't paranoid enough to buy American. It's going to happen. I know it's going to happen.
I honestly believe that as far as that goes, the technology goes, yeah. I honestly think that everybody high ranking in the military should own something pre-fucking electronic everything. You know what I mean? Old school shit.
Bro, and this brings me to something I can kind of comment on. Where I work, there's a mix of you've got proper techie IT people. And then and all the proper techie IT people drive mostly Japanese cars. It's a lot of Japanese cars, but it's a lot of at least 10 or 15-year-old Japanese cars. There's a dozen people that drive 86s. There's people who drive Imprezas. There's people that drive WRXs. It's all these older Japanese cars that don't have, maybe they have some tech, mid-teens cars, 2013, 2016s. But they don't have so much tech that you can't work on them. And they're characterized by being very reliable and dependable and easy to work on. A lot of Subarus. And then you have managers who, they're fucking managers. Are you still listening?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. You got managers, and because they're managers, they drive BMWs. All managers drive BMWs. It's just a thing.
Middle management is really bad about that, yeah.
Yeah, and then you have the people that they're the engineers who want to be seen as like hip and techie and in with it. And you know what they fucking drive? They either drive stupid, shitty fucking trucks, which makes no fucking sense, or they drive Teslas. Because they want to be seen as hip and tech literate. And anybody that actually works with tech in a meaningful capacity, works with, developing and maintaining actually critical infrastructure, drives a fucking Japanese, a 15, 20-year-old Japanese car. You've got this disconnect between the people who are kind of mid to top, who want to be seen as, hip and with it, that drive new shit because it's shiny and techy, and the people that actually do the tech, mid to lower level, who drive shit they can work on. And the same, I know for a fact, the same is true in the military. The paranoid enlisted intel guys all drive, 20-year-old cars they can work on, and the senior staff drive the shiny new thing with all the tech. And if we let BYDs be backdoored onto U.S. soil, some fucking colonel or some fucking two-star is going to drive one of those things, and as soon as China decides they want to cross the strait, they're going to burn to death because they're not paranoid. We need more paranoia in our critical
We really
leadership.
do. We need to go back to a state of paranoia about security consciousness, and fucking it needs to reflect in this is going to sound really boomerish, but it needs to reflect in how we manage tech companies in the United States. I don't think we should have.
And then of course, the average new car sold in the US costs around 50 grand, while the average Chinese export costs just 19 grand. First of all, they're not going to cost 19 grand in the US market. They're going to cost closer to 25 or 30. It's a wealthier market. They're going to raise prices.
They're going to charge 25 to 30, and then after tariffs it's going to be closer to 50, because if these things ever do get green lighted, they're going to have tariffs out the fucking ass on them.
I hope. And it's U.S. market increased here in luxury, leaving anyone looking for reliable, affordable transportation to hunt through the used car lot. I mean, yeah, our car market is shit, but backdooring these surveillance tools is not the fucking answer. The answer is we smack down the car manufacturers and tell them to sell something cheap. We take all the new inventory that's stupid overpriced, and we just let it rot on the lots. We let them sit for
what's happening now.
5 years until it's literally broken down and undrivable and unsellable. And once the dealerships lose hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on unsellable inventory that's parts cars now, then maybe we'll start cutting all the fucking luxury crap out of cars and
that's
selling
happening
shit that's
currently because everything's so expensive right now.
Yeah.
That is happening currently. Every dealership near my house is full. It's been the same inventory. I've been watching. It's been the same inventory at every fucking dealership. They may switch out a few cars a year, but they've got 300 cars and trucks sitting on those lots on any one of them at all times. And it's the same fucking ones. They haven't moved. They kind of get washed every week if they can get to them all. That's how it is. And Ford and Nissan, I believe it's Nissan. I know it's Ford. No, it's Ford and Toyota are both, according to rumors, making a push now so that we're cutting out the dealers. They want to completely cut out the dealers by a few years from now, so that they can charge their own prices.
Hopefully.
Basically just make the dealers as a delivery area.
Yeah.
Which is what they need to be anyway. I want to be able to go through a Toyota dealership, or not a Toyota dealership. I want to be able to go through Toyota, order a car to my exact specs, and then have it delivered to a dealership and just pick it up there. There doesn't need to be Toyota does not need to make cars at the levels they make them and then send them to dealerships to sit forever and not sell. That's good for nobody's wallet.
For all their faults, Tesla did prove that model works and works well, and I hope more manufacturers copy it. This guy, I mean, he's got UC Berkeley. Yeah, he's getting paid by the Chinese. That's this article. He got a load of cash, and he's advocating for this shit to be backdoored. So that's
Well, and
fun.
we've talked about this before for
Okay.
cars.
Next up, bit of a debate. I don't necessarily think you and I disagree on the core of this. I think we might disagree on like how culpable Kia and Hyundai are. So the Kia boys trend, for those that aren't aware, like this stupid shit. Kia and Hyundai predominantly around 2014, 2016 made cars that didn't have immobilizers. And there was a massive TikTok trend, people fucking stealing these cars and joyriding in them. And as a result, Kia got sued. Notably, I'm pretty sure it wasn't, at least initially, a class action by anyone that was a victim of this. It was the states suing Kia and Hyundai, alleging that Kia and Hyundai were culpable for selling cars that had inadequate security, inadequate anti-theft. And while I think there's a point there, I think that the lawsuits are some of the dumbest shit ever. And the reason why is because at the end of the day, we wouldn't need these dumbass anti-theft features if we didn't have a certain class of people predominantly in the inner cities running around being fucking hooligans. And I think blaming Kia and Hyundai for, if you look at like the attorney generals that are filing these suits and that are trying to go after these companies, it's a plain and naked attempt to shift the blame from their soft on crime policies and their catch and release bullshit onto the car manufacturers. They're saying, oh, these cars being stolen, it's not our fault for being completely incompetent at managing crime. It's the manufacturer's fault for making these cars too easy to steal, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm curious to hear your perspective.
I can see your point. Actually, now that you've articulated it pretty well, I'm with you on it. It is a lot to do with the culture. Although I will say, Kia had no business coming out with something with no immobilizer in it. I think every car should have an immobilizer as standard equipment. Let's be real. And then their attempt to fix it was at first a free software upgrade. And then it was vehicles ineligible for the software update. They offered to install. They didn't tell anybody. Hey, I think they put out a release or something and said, or told dealerships to tell people, hey, we have this thing we can put on your car, Kia will pay for it. But they didn't put any kind of massive press release on it or anything like that. They just basically told dealerships to tell people. Not everybody takes their car to a dealership to have it fixed. I personally take both of my cars to my local shop because it's way cheaper than dealerships. So, and then steering wheel locks.
Yeah.
I can go buy a $20 fucking steering wheel lock. I do not need Kia to go, oh, we can give you a steering wheel lock. How about you make your cars correctly? I do see your point about the soft on crime policies. And I also, one thing I would like to add to that is most of the Kia Boys trend was performed by people that were under the age where they could be tried as adults.
Yeah.
Like 99% of them were under the age where they could be tried as adults. So it was automatic catch and release, which I see as a problem.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I can see your point. I see your side of it too. And definitely having done some more digging, because I did soften my position. I did change my position a little bit today because I did some deeper digging. And before like 2014 or 2016, they did sell vehicles with immobilizers and then they took them out. I had assumed that this is what had forced them to put in immobilizers in the first place. That it was just an East Asian company not understanding how bad auto thefts are in the global market. So yeah, I can see the argument that they did cheap out on these cars by removing immobilizers as a standard feature. And that in that regard, there's an argument to be made that they are I think it falls apart, though, when you try to transition that into, therefore, they're culpable for theft. I don't think so. I think, and people have made the argument about like, oh, well, what about a car company taking out, safety features? Like, to cheap out, we took out the driver's airbag. And as a result, like 100 people died in crashes because they didn't have airbags. Yeah, but I mean, you can argue the manufacturer is culpable in that respect because car crashes are a thing that happen. To an extent, it's reasonable to say that a car manufacturer should sell a car. Their cars that they sell should be safe in a crash, or as safe as can be practically made, that they shouldn't skimp out on safety. When it comes to anti-theft devices, however, I think you need to take the focus away from car manufacturers and put it onto who's responsible for preventing the crimes, for catching the criminals, for making sure the criminals aren't out on our streets. Because criminals are not a force of nature, and crime is not some random thing that just happens. It is committed by people that we know and can do something about. And so, yeah, they cheaped out by not including this, but I don't think that transitions into, therefore, they're culpable for their cars being stolen. It's not like people sliding into a ditch and dying because they didn't have an airbag. So, I definitely don't agree with the notion that every car should be sold with an immobilizer. I think in an ideal world, no car would have a fucking immobilizer. I think we should have a world, I don't know, is versus ought, right? But ideally, we live in a world where we don't need immobilizers, where we just lock up car thieves and we actually commit to the policies that we know work to mitigate this to a point where it's a minimal issue in the fringes of society. And then we don't need to add this electronic crap between your key and the engine that regularly goes out. I mean, you can Google any car, immobilizer broken, and find dozens of hits. It's just extra crap that we have to put in vehicles because certain states' district attorneys don't want to go after criminals. And I don't think it's the fault of Kia or Hyundai. I think it's the fault of the district attorneys.
I can agree. I agree with you in some respects. I think it's a little bit more complicated than that, especially in the case of the Kia boys, because so many of them are under the age where they can be tried as adults. So it's juvie short term, and then they get out, and then they're of age to be tried as an adult, but in cities where they don't get punished. So yes, changing the law would help to an extent, but I think this particular trend took over in a section of the population that we can't fucking do anything about unless we were to seriously change laws, and I don't think there's enough push for that yet for that to happen. So I think, in a way, immobilizers should be mandatory until we've taken care of that.
I can understand and accept that position. I think that's a fair position to take.
The car theft is as bad as it was before that started happening with the Kia boys thing. Oh yeah, I know what I was going to say. So we should take the law, I think, a step further. And you know how the original Kia boys trend started was a TikTok viral video about stealing the car with a USB charger?
Yeah.
The person that posted that video should do life in prison without the possibility of parole for starting the trend. I think if you do something that blatantly, you can just steal a car like this, or like do something that leads to something this big, life in prison without the possibility of parole. I'm very serious about it.
Well, I think
I
think the easy one-line policy change is just to say, if you're a juvenile offender and you're convicted of an offense you are charged with an offense you were previously separately convicted of, you are automatically tried as an adult. The first time you steal a car, maybe we try you as a juvenile. We say, oh, you're just being a stupid kid. You made a mistake. We're going to throw you in juvie for 6 months. And then you get out, and we have a hope that you've understood that you're being stupid and reformed. If you go out and do it again, all right, well, we try you as an adult. We tried, we gave you the benefit of the doubt, and you squandered it. So now you get, full adult, deal with that shit. Car theft Grand Theft Auto is a mandatory 5-year sentence. Take your ass off the street for 5 years. There you go.
I can agree to that. I think that policy change should not just be relegated to car offenses, though. It should be anything repeated.
Yeah, because
it shows a pattern that you don't plan on stopping.
Yeah, I mean, the theory around being a little bit soft on charges for juveniles is kids do stupid things because their brains aren't fully developed, and that's understandable. But there's an expectation that once they've been, maybe you're young and stupid and can't predict the consequences of your stupid actions ahead of time, but there's an expectation that once you're introduced to those consequences, you understand and you don't do it again. You know, when I was growing up, sometimes I did stupid shit and I got punished for it, and then I didn't do that stupid shit again. That's how it should be. If you keep doing the stupid shit, all right, clearly you understand the consequences of your actions because you've suffered them before, and you still do it. You understand the consequences, you took the consequences into account, and you still did it. So now full understanding, no excuse that you were just a dumb kid. We try your ass as an adult, and you spend 5 years in prison. And frankly, I don't give a shit if that 5 years in prison makes you more or less likely to go out and commit more car thefts when you get out. At least your ass is in prison for 5 years. And then maybe next time we can make it 10. But
I like the idea, and I was about to say this anyway. I like the idea of every repeat offense. If you get out of jail and commit an offense again, double whatever punishment.
Yeah.
The next time, triple whatever punishment.
I mean, I'm quite sensitive. As you might imagine, for a car enthusiast, I'm quite sensitive specifically to the car side of these things. I think we dramatically underpunish car thefts and carjackings and any like vehicle related crime. You know, we need to be far harsher on people that steal other people's cars, because a man's car is fucking sacred as far as I'm concerned. And B, we need to be harsher on people that drive their cars like idiots because they ruin shit for the rest of us. But yeah, you know, I mean, I can accept that Kia and Hyundai bore some responsibility by not putting immobilizers in. And then I can even accept that they had a responsibility to put the immobilizers in, and they shirked that responsibility to save a quick buck. But at the same time, it really shouldn't be their responsibility to do this. And the whole lawsuit bullshit is just a naked and transparent attempt by certain soft-on-crime district attorneys to cover up the failures of their policies by trying to shift blame on auto manufacturers, which is easy to do because it's easy in this country, unfortunately, to just, you know, point at the giant corporation and say, oh, the big corporation is evil and screwing you over, you know, when really the government half the time is the bigger fucking problem.
Well, this is, I'm a little bit more heated on this topic because this has affected me personally. One of my family friends owned one of these cars as a used car, and it got stolen and joyrided and wasted all the gas, and then they crashed it.
And he lost money on it, presumably.
She did.
Yeah, because that's what happens when your shit gets crashed. Like, he's got insurance.
So
yeah,
it wasn't her fault it was stolen. It wasn't her fault it was joyrided. It wasn't her fault any of this shit. But the insurance fucking paid out the claim and then raised their fucking rates.
Yeah, I mean, I know that full well. You know, when my Miata got crashed into, I'm out the $1,000 that I put as a down payment. I'm out the like $500 that I paid on the loan towards the car. I'm out the like $260 that I paid in insurance while I had it. All that's gone down the drain, even though I had insurance and I had gap insurance. I was out probably the better part of $2,000 on that car when it got crashed into.
Yeah, it's annoying as shit. Although we can take this and compare it directly to, so in the UK, the most stolen car to the point where insurance won't even cover it unless you have it in a locked garage behind another set of gates, and they don't want you leaving them parked in public, is Range Rovers. So specific model Range Rovers in the UK are stolen a lot because you can go through the very back of it and like mess with some wires and start the car. That's not an immobilizer problem. That's how they wired the car. So I can see, we didn't know that was going to be a possibility that people would find and you start using to steal the car.
Yeah.
Putting an immobilizer on a fucking car, though, to not doing that to save a few bucks and then having it blow up in your face. Who, really? We didn't see that coming? Really? I just don't buy that.
That's fair. Ugh.
Especially in inner city America. I'm sorry, but if you've ever sold a car here, you know that they'll fucking steal cars off the lots. There was a Porsche dealer break-in where they drove the Porsches out through the fucking windows at one point.
I think I saw the footage of that. I love this line, though. A history of endlessly shared images of Ford Pintos self-immolating or roving teens maliciously blowing up Takata airbags on camera. Yeah, the Ford Pinto was a design flaw that had serious mechanical consequences. The faulty Takata airbags was a mechanical design flaw that had serious physical consequences. The fucking missing immobilizers, that was dumb kids. Like, again, this line it's another example of people treating certain people, I should say, treating theft and crime like a thing that just happened.
It's a hobby.
It's not.
That's how they treat it.
Yeah, it's not a. Well, I wouldn't say they treat it like a hobby. I'd say they treat it like a force of nature, like a tree falling on your car. It's like, oh, shitty snowstorm that causes you to spin off the road.
Oh, you were talking about a fundamentally different angle than I was hinting at. The culture sees it as something to do in your off time, like a hobby.
Ah, yes.
They have nothing better to do and they have no money to do anything. So their hobby is to go steal and ruin other people's day.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yep.
So yes, I see it. I do get your point where it's a culture thing, and there could be not that culture of stealing in America like there is. We don't live in that world, unfortunately, and I think until we are closer to that world, immobilizers shouldn't be a fucking we can save a little bit of money by not adding them. And I made that point, and you and I both agree on this anyway, so
yeah. Okay.
I just and the fact that they had immobilizers in the cars and then decided to save a few bucks by taking them out of newer models.
Yeah, that does change a lot.
It does kind of put the kibosh on any, we've never needed them before.
Yeah. I will say my Subi from 05 doesn't have an immobilizer in it. So there is an argument to be made, like, some manufacturers didn't used to have to put immobilizers in their vehicles, and now they do. I just have to be careful where I park that thing. Although I don't think a Subaru Baja is the kind of car that's going to get stolen.
Exactly. Especially not you drive a Subaru Baja. It's the fucking truck Subi. It's not exactly the most popular of the bunch. I don't even think there's a resale market for those, really.
There is. Actually, you'd be surprised. There's a turbo with like 60-some thousand miles going for like 20 grand in my area. They're going up in value, so actually.
The engines and stuff, but not the complete car.
No, the complete car. That body is actually somewhat in demand because they didn't sell very many of them, and they've aged very well. So there's actually there's a fairly decent demand for them. It's just nobody like looking at it knows what they're looking at.
That is true.
It is admittedly mostly Subi enthusiasts driving the price of these things up, and the fact there's like probably less than 10,000 of them left. Okay,
there's part of me that is very glad that the El Camino didn't continue because it'd probably be ugly as shit by now. But there's also a part of me that very much misses the El Camino body style.
God, I love the El Camino so much. I had a dude in basic training that I was with who was joking about how he used to own an El Camino and how he'd wrecked it being an idiot, like just driving like a fucking idiot, and had wrecked it. He was laughing about it. I wanted to punch it. Fucking kidding me.
One thing I wish we could get in the States easily is Holden UTEs from Australia.
Utes? It's not UTE, it's Ute.
Yeah, it's whatever. Most people won't know them by either anyway.
That's true.
Effectively, Holden is a Ford product over in Australia. And in Australia, they made mini trucks. With So if
GM, I think it was GM actually.
I feel like the Holden was a Ford product. I might be wrong, but they
GM Holden.
Oh, it was a GM. Okay. So because they were based on Pontiacs.
Yeah.
So the Pontiac G8 is the same as a Holden something or other V8 car in Australia, and then they made a mini truck version of that that's very similar body style.
Yep.
And I want one of those so goddamn bad.
They were very nice.
So there was a way to bypass it, but I haven't had the money to do that. It was register it in a certain state and register it as a G8 effectively. And it would basically just be like a transfer title or something.
Nice.
I don't know if you can still do that, but those cars are fucking great to me.
The Holden is nice.
If I ever get rich enough, I'm going to have a place in Australia just so I can own one of those.
Oh my God, the Holden 1 ton. Look at this thing.
Hell yeah, brother. Look at you.
Yes.
And those things all come with, those things have such buildable engines too. They came in with the exact same engine specs as all the Pontiac G8s. So it was like big block V8s in them. So they make a ton of power. They're used for like drifting events. And they're used for everything up there.
It's like an actually practical version of the K-Truck.
Yeah.
God, they made a Holden Maloo Ute. So I'm gonna get segue us into a segment that I'd like to make a trend of, called "What Grinds My Gears," because every automotive enthusiast has shit that just like gets our fucking goat, and so like one of us is gonna present something from the week that just like pisses us off as car enthusiasts, and the thing that I have to talk about, which is it came up with like 30 minutes before we started, because we got hit by another fucking snowstorm, because we just can't stop getting hit by these things, is people don't know how to drive in the snow, because fundamentally people in this country do not learn how to drive in the snow properly. Because if you go to driving school, and I'm sure even you down in Texas learned it this way, you learn all this shit about how to avoid a slide and how to avoid getting in a position where you might slide out, and being careful to avoid your vehicle sliding. You're in the snow. You're gonna fucking slide.
That's actually nothing we learned in my fucking driving school down here. Is stay below the speed limit and always check your mirrors and blah 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 and drive safely. It's nothing emergency at all.
Damn.
At the fuck all. It's all safe driving bullshit. There isn't even a portion on here's how to control your vehicle if it starts slipping in the rain. Which is why we have so many goddamn accidents around here in the rain, because nobody knows. It's the same way with the snow there. Nobody knows how to drive in the rain here at all. And you're exactly right. It grinds my gears fucking crazy.
The rain is one thing, but I feel like people, certainly up here, do a better job of driving in the rain than they do in the fucking snow. Because everyone is shit scared of the snow. They're shit scared, and they all do like 10 fucking miles an hour because everyone is terrified of sliding. Because that's what they've been taught in driving school, is to be fucking terrified of sliding. Like, oh no, I'm losing control of my car. I'm gonna end up in a ditch. You're gonna slide. You're on this powdery shit that slips. You're not on tarmac, okay? Don't fear the slide. Learn what your car does when you're sliding, and learn what your car does when you put power on when you're sliding. Learn how to predict what's going to happen, and then deal with it. Like, it's going to be squirrely in the back when you're starting from a stop. It's going to be squirrely all over the place when you're turning. You don't need to do 10 miles a freaking hour to avoid that shit. Learn how to counter steer. Really learn like what it feels like. Next time it snows, go out to a Walmart parking lot, turn off your traction control, because all it's doing is fighting you, hit the gas and turn the wheel. Your car's going to slide. You're going to learn what it feels like, and then get some practice until you can predict what it's going to do and you can counter it. Because if I can drive home in a 2,700-pound rear-wheel drive Japanese coupe coupe, I suppose, at the speed limit, sliding all over the place. Now, not all over the place, but sliding occasionally and controlling it and having fun doing it, you in your all-wheel drive SUV will be just fine. But then again, I was driving to lunch today and I was behind. It was an Audi I think it was a Q7. I don't know Audis. Big SUV.
Big, heavy car, but it's got, Audis are kind of famous for all-wheel drive terrains.
Yeah, which is why it's very funny, because he was going in a straight line, and somehow he managed to slide out and end up in a ditch. An Audi. Just turn in your fucking driver's license, dude. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. How do you put an Audi in a ditch in a straight line?
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
there are two things with that. Nobody knows what to do in the event of an emergency. They're not taught, and they don't bother to learn, and they don't go out of their way to learn.
That's the part that grinds my gears.
Or anything. Yeah, that annoys the crap out of me that they don't even bother teaching anybody. An aside of that, if a fucking teacher says anything about if you slide, just or
hit the brakes, oh god,
if they teach you to be afraid, they're basically if you do this you're gonna crash, and they just reinforce you're gonna crash, then people are gonna be afraid of the crash. You can't be afraid in a fucking vehicle. You've got to be on it.
Well, and also, being afraid just means you never prepare, because sometimes this shit is inevitable. As much as I harp on about going out sliding and having fun doing it, sometimes you don't get to have fun. And it's not your choice. Sometimes you really do just lose control, and you're in a position where you can't really recover it. And if you're in that position, and you know what your car feels like when you're sliding, and you know what it does, and you know how to handle it, you can get yourself out of it without any problems. If you get yourself in that position and you have no experience handling a slide, you're going to end up in a ditch in a way where you're not going to get out under your own power, and you're fucked. So, stop being scared, feel free to give it a little bit of gas, and learn how to counter steer. It's actually kind of fun.
YouTube Shorts has actually led me to a video. I'm never going to be able to find this, by the way, because it was like fucking last week or something. There was a video of somebody getting into their car on a snowy like road that has a pretty good thing. The act of closing their car door before they even got a chance to start the car made it start sliding. So yes, you're completely correct. It's inevitable to sometimes slide.
Oh, there was a video I saw from I remember when I think it was like January when like Texas got hit with that massive snowstorm that clobbered the whole country. There was a video, I think it was from Texas actually, of someone sliding down a hill in an SUV, and they were like spinning around and they were sliding, and their tires were not moving a single fucking degree because they were putting all their weight on the brakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You idiot. And I know why they were doing that, because all they learned in driving school is that if you want the car to stop moving, you hit the brakes. And that's not true. The brakes don't stop the car. They stop the wheels. And if you're in that position, you do not want your wheels to stop. Let go of the brakes and counter steer. And then you're good. It's all
if you're sliding down a hill, you put yourself in a situation you're not saving yourself anyway, so just hold on for the ride.
I mean, you can save it. You let off the brakes, you let the wheels spin under the momentum of the car until you've got traction again. You give it a little bit of power, you point the wheel in the direction you want to go against the spin. Eventually you will correct and you'll start going in a straight line, and your wheels will be turning so you can control it.
So, yeah, I mean, you are correct on that, but it's less having complete control of the car and getting it to where you want to go, and more like controlled falling like they do in helicopters during emergencies. It's like an auto rotation, effectively.
True enough, but it's the only way you learn this shit is by just not being scared and accepting the fact, which is the takeaway here, that you're gonna slide. And once you get really, really used to it, you start learning about slip angle, and you start learning that on snow, the steeper your slip angle, the more traction you have. And that unlocks a gateway to a world of fun and enjoyment when you start realizing the further sideways you're going, the more traction you have. Because that's when you take an all-wheel drive car out and you just mash that fucking pedal, and you have so much goddamn fun. That was my drive home from Walmart, and that was what made it a little bit less aggravating. I wasn't mashing the pedal, in no small part because my Subi desperately needs an oil change. But I was just like frustrated with how stupid people were being, so I was like, I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with it.
It's like people. It's ridiculous. If it was just a small number, you could say they just moved here or they moved from somewhere with a warmer climate. But it's everywhere. These people suck everywhere. And I honestly think at this point, they need to either completely redo the driving testing system, or they need to mandate that you also have to do a performance driving course so that you'll at least have the ability and the knowledge of how to do things today, like behind the wheel. Because this self-learning crap doesn't work.
Yeah, people need to push their cars so they learn not to be scared of them, because too many people on the road are terrified of their own vehicles, and it doesn't help that the people that are terrified of their own vehicles get behind the wheel of like 2.5-ton SUVs, which doesn't help because they drive like shit and they handle like shit, and they've got oodles. They body roll like a high seas schooner, and they've got so much weight that if you put any lateral G's on them, they will just slide on dry tarmac. And so of course you take drivers that are shit scared of their own vehicles and you put them in the biggest fucking vehicles on the road. Doesn't make it any better. So that's what grinds my gears this week. Are you doing this next section, or I don't think I was briefed on this.
Are we doing the Tesla drivers section?
I changed that, but you put in this bit about why are drivers getting worse.
I think we can do that next time.
Okay. I will put that in next time.
And then we missed Hyundai dropping the Santa Cruz.
Ah, yes, I will pull that up.
And then man arrested for riding in back of Tesla.
Okay, variety hour. All right. So this is, I have mixed feelings on this, because on the one hand, I thought the Santa Cruz is pretty neat from the outside, but then I went to the car show in Albany and I saw the interior of it, and I'm a bit less sad about it now, because the interior of this thing is awful.
They are awful interiors. I've seen a couple of them.
Yeah, but it's kind of sad to see I mean, it's not really a ute, because a ute is a coupe utility. It's not even a sedan utility because it's a full-size crossover.
It's like it's a crossover with a pickup bed.
a utility crossover, which is a market segment I actually quite like, and it's kind of sad to see one leave it. But then again, like, Hyundai didn't sell any of them, which not hard to imagine why, because if I remember correctly, this thing had a inline 4 that made like 200 horsepower.
So you essentially sold a attempt at a half-size truck with worse suspension and no horsepower.
Yeah.
I wonder why it failed.
It did come with a turbocharged model, as did the Baja, and Subaru didn't sell any of those either. So the turbo model is not going to save it.
No, hell no.
Oh,
And
God.
I feel like did even the Honda Ridgeline outsell it by quite a bit? Because I feel like I heard some numbers that said the Honda Ridgeline sold decently well, but still not well enough to keep it around long term.
Well, yeah, everyone says the Ridgeline sold poorly, but I mean, at least it sold more than 25,000 in 1 year. That's like low production sports car numbers in something that is not a low production sports car.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad to see it. It's disappointing to see it go, but it's not surprising.
I don't think these things were ever going to sell like they were designed.
It's kind of anemic. I mean, now I gotta look it up. What the fuck they put in this thing? Hyundai dropped the ball hard on these things and didn't give them... yes.
2.5 liter 4-cylinder gas engine with both port and direct injection.
Really?
And that becomes a nightmare on its own because the fucking direct injection
191
tends to clog up for small engines.
191 horsepower. So they built a 2.5 liter dual injected 4-cylinder, which is what the 8.6 has, except the 8.6, the first gen, is a 2 liter that makes more power
than a thing on a truck
and more
chassis.
torque,
Not even a truck chassis,
too.
a crossover chassis designed to be used like a truck, which is even worse.
Yeah.
So what was this thing's payload?
Anemic, if I'm... Oh, God, look at those numbers.
Oh, no.
That's sad. That's
terrible.
Miserable.
Let's look it up real quick.
Payload capacity. Respectable. 1,400 pounds. Payload. 3,500 pound on the standard and 5,000 pound towing capacity. So like you could get one of these things and like tow an 8.6 on a toy trailer to the track. I mean,
okay.
I will give them credit. They actually gave it a respectable capability.
And what were these things priced at? New for 24 models. Let's go 24 model and just compare because I got something to compare it
to. I've got 24 model 2024 Hyundai Santa Cruz 26.9. It's not bad.
Okay, for $5,000 more dollars,
yeah,
you can get a Tacoma. Which is a huge problem. Not only that, the Tacoma actually has truck capacity. It has 1,700 pounds, depending on the configuration for the payload. And what was towing? Let's look up towing. 6,500 to 6,800 pounds. Towing.
Worth noting as well, the Santa Cruz was front-wheel drive as standard. It had optional 8-track all-wheel drive, which sucks.
So legitimately made to be entirely useless in no niche.
Yeah. I mean, they're neat. Aside from the front end, which, like all Hyundais, is fucking ugly, it actually doesn't look that bad. And it's got enough towing capacity for a track car on a toy trailer. I could, in another world, if it didn't have a really awful interior, see myself maybe buying something like this as a toy hauler. But then again, The Maverick exists. The Tacoma exists.
And if I wanted something that looked
Ridgeline
exactly
exists.
like if I wanted something that looked exactly like a Ridgeline, I would have bought a Ridgeline.
Yeah, I mean,
Ridgeline's been around longer. It has more to its name. The Santa Cruz was adapted from some other version of a vehicle, correct?
I believe it was based on a Tucson. So for 10 grand more, you get a Ridgeline, which is just more capable and doesn't look as ugly. Ford Maverick. The Ford Maverick was cheaper. Holy shit! Yeah, Hyundai.
That's really not a good look. Hyundai not only shit the bed with front wheel drive, they shit the bed with the looks, they shit the bed with the interior, but then they shit the bed by not even outperforming the cost of an actual truck that had history.
They didn't drop the ball; they hurled it into the ground.
They shot putted that fucker into the deepest ocean they could find, is what they did.
It's got a fucking inline four making 190 horsepower mated to front wheel drive, and it costs $6,000 more than the Maverick.
They took a shot put, they tied
Nobody was going to buy this
chain around it, and they put the anchor in a cannon. And so they shot putted the shot put, and then they launched the anchor.
And no wonder they only sold 25 grand of them in a year.
Yeah, they did everything they could to sink that car before it ever made it to market. That's fucking ridiculous.
Well, it's dead now. So rest in peace, I guess. You were never given.
Probably for the best.
It was. I'm kind of sad again. It wasn't given a proper chance. It was put out to pasture before it was even born, and that's just sad. Oh, this shit.
Okay, so you were right. It was based on the Hyundai Tucson.
Yeah. Ah, God.
But I mean, you can't make a truck on a fucking crossover frame, because crossovers don't early crossovers were terrible.
Yeah.
We've owned a couple of them. The best we've gotten so far is the Chevy Equinox, is what my mom drives around. And before that, she had a Nissan Murano, and that thing had such horrible suspension that she wanted it gone after the first year she had it.
Oh, those things are garbage. So, last up, man arrested for riding back a driverless Tesla on autopilot gets out of jail.
Oh. So this is an old story. I think this is from 2019, but
2021 updated 2021.
What we originally had for Tesla drivers on here, and this goes back to some of the Tesla story, but the self-driving is giving people stupid ass ideas. So backstory, this guy in, was it New York or California? I think it was California,
San Francisco, Oakland Bay Bridge.
Indian guy buys a Tesla.
The most, I gotta pause here for a moment. The most pathetic mugshot I think I've ever seen. He's fucking pleading. Please don't arrest me.
Yeah. So this guy.
Yeah.
He got in the back of his Tesla, set autopilot, and was rolling on I-80. Tesla explicit. I don't know how he got past the safety measures. I think Tesla may have added the safety measure to where it required somebody in the driver's seat after this happened.
Yeah.
But he gets out.
I think at the time they only required the weight. Like, you had to be holding the steering wheel, and they had weight sensors for it, but you could buy these, like, little magnetic clip-on weights that tricked it out. I saw people using them all the time.
So he did this, got arrested. The car got seized, I believe.
Of course.
He gets out, gets another one, gets pulled over again, doing the same thing. And I think this happens 3 or 4 times. I think this is early enough in the timeline that he's probably only been pulled over once by this point. But at one point, he gives an interview and he says, I'm a very rich man. I'm just going to keep buying new Teslas, and I'm just going to keep doing this.
What a dick. Based on a written response from Sharma, he apparently had no fear of law enforcement. Well,
He lives in California. Of course, he has no fear.
Yeah, take that shit to Georgia. We'll put the fear of law enforcement in your ass.
If law enforcement in Georgia State Patrol would see nobody in the front seat and a driver in the back seat and intentionally wreck the car into a ditch just to teach him a lesson.
Yeah. God, this more than anything is just fucking stupid. And of course, the contempt for the police, because
the contempt for any kind of law. They don't care.
Because self-driving is the future when it works.
No, here the blue back there. I'm very rich. I'll just keep buying new cars.
God, let me pull that up. Yeah, because that's an excuse that'll endear you to people. Oh, of course, pulls up to the news doing the same dumb shit.
And that was the best part, is he got in trouble for this the first time, was asked for an interview, and pulled up to the news doing the same shit. So I think this story ended like the fourth time he got the car seized and got arrested for this, and I don't know what happened to him after.
Fucking these people. I have nothing more to say. Like, that's just... I
fucking these people.
So stupid. I have no words. I'll do the outro then. All right. Thank you very much for joining us on another episode of the 8-6 Experience. We hope you all had a great time and drive safe.
Have a good one, guys.
Yeah.